All right, so this is 10.7 part 2, right? So remember in 10.7 part 1, we talked about the area of a circle. That was one of the equations you're going to need to use for your quiz. Area of a circle, which is pi r squared. And then we did these, which are areas of a sector, which is the measure of the arc over 360 times pi r squared. And so questions we got looked like this. It says find the area of the shaded sector. Leave your answer in terms of pi. So if I look at number 4, I want to find the area of that pink sector. So the measure of the arc is given to you. That's 120 over 360 times pi r is also given to you. That's the radius, 4 squared. So now I can reduce this. This would be 1 over 3 times 4 squared, which is 16. I could put that over 1 and then bump pi all the way to the end. Multiply that straight out. All the numerators that are left, which would be 16 and 1, that would be 16. The denominators that are left, 3 and 1, that would be 3 pi. So that's one way to do it. 16 over 3 pi is an answer that is an acceptable answer. It would be centimeters squared, but it would be the right answer. Or you can take your equation from here, 120 over 360 times 16 over 1 times pi. Multiply out your numerators. So 120 times 16 is 1920 over your denominators, which would be 360. And divide 1920 by 360, and you get 5.33 pi, and again it would be centimeters squared, which would be the same answer you'd get if you took 16 and divided by 3. So either one of these answers is okay. Questions on that one? Okay, then go to number 2. This time there's not a degree measurement on the arc, but what you do have on that angle is a right angle. So because this is a right angle, I know this is 90 degrees, which also makes this 90 degrees. So my equation would be 90 over 360 times pi, here's my radius, 7 squared. So this reduces to 1/4 times 7 squared is 49 over 1 times pi. So this would be 49 over 4 pi. Or I can again take this 90 over 360 times 49 over 1 times pi. Multiply out the 90 and the 49. And I'd get 4,410 over 360, which is 12.25 pi. So either of these, well, units is centimeters squared, either of those would be correct. Questions on that one? Okay, so then your quiz review, this was the homework that was due today. So this was the 10.7 part 2 part of it. These are the areas of the sectors. Number 13 should have been 81 over 2 pi, or 40.5 pi. The measure there was 45. The radius was 18. Number 13, 90 over 360 times pi times 16 squared. Should have been 64 pi. Number 15, this time they gave you the diameter, so you had to cut it in half to get the radius. And they gave you this angle here was 120, which means you had to subtract it from 180 to get this angle, because those two form a line, and that would have been 60. So it would have been 60 over 360 pi times 13 squared, which is 169 over 6 pi, or 28.2 pi. Then came 16, 30 over 360 times pi r squared gives you 144 pi, or 144 over 1 times 112, or 12 pi. $17, again, they gave you the angle outside it. So in order to figure it out, I had to take 360 and subtract 90 from it, and that inside angle would have been 270. 270 over 360 times pi times 4 squared should have given you 12 pi. And 18, they gave you the diameter, so you had to cut it in half to get the radius, and they gave you the angle outside, so you had to do 360 minus that 45. 315 over 360 times pi 8 squared should have been 56 pi. All right, then these, which is pretty darn similar to what your quiz will look like. So if you did well on this page, you should feel comfortable going into that quiz assignment. Numbers 1 and 2 are just to find the measure of the arc. Number 1, arc UT, which is here. Because this is 90, this is 90, which means UT is 90. Number 2, ask for the measure of arc SUT, and you want to go in that order, which was everything except for the 134. 360 minus 134 should have given you 226. Then came arc length, right? So this is one of the equations you had to know. The measure of the arc over 360 times 2 pi r, or the measure of the arc over 360 times pi times diameter, if they gave you diameter. So number 3 should have been 15 pi over 4, or 3.75 pi. Number 4 should have been 9 over 2 pi, or 4.5 pi. Number 5, second equation was for circumference. So this one was length. Circumference is either pi times diameter or 2 pi r. So for number 5, they gave you the radius. All you had to do is multiply it times 2, which is 20 pi. And number 6, they gave you the diameter. All you have to do is multiply it times pi. Should be the easiest question on the whole thing. Then came area. So remember, area of the circle is pi r squared. Number 7 would have been 4 squared, which is 49. I'm sorry, 7 squared, which is 49 times pi. And 8, they gave you the diameter, cut it in half. The radius is 7, so it's the same answer, 49 pi. And the last one was the area of the sector. So this is area of the sector is the measure of the angle over 360, or the measure of the arc, times pi r squared. So these are like the ones we just did on the warm-up. Number 9 should have been 196 over 3 pi, or 65.3. Number 10, 27 pi. So before Monday, you will click on the link for the quiz. It will tell you that you have 60 minutes to finish it and turn it back in. And it is just like this. 10 questions in this format, different numbers. You're going to work them out at the very end. It's going to ask you for, like, if there's an answer block, so you can just put all your answers in that same block, but you need to make sure you show me the work. You'll do the work in Notability and then send it back to the assignment. Remember, you've got to send it to your files. So this is where it's a little bit different. So let me show you that process.